Welcome, everyone, to the Squid Ultimate Fan Show. I'm Mike Wilson, the Ultimate Leafs fan. Joining me, as always, my winger, Ricky Squid Vaive. Squid, hope all is well. We have lots to catch up on, but first off, how about those St. Catharines Saints winning out to make the playoffs in their first year in Senior A Allen Cup play? Kudos to you, my man.
Yeah, it was awesome. We won our last three games to get into third place, and the guys were so pumped up. I went in the room after and said something, and then they all jumped up and they were screaming, and so it was fun.
Now, do you know when your first game is?
Yeah, actually, our first game's at home this Saturday, and then we play the following Thursday in Wentworth, and then back home Saturday, and then I'm assuming Game 4 will be there, and Game 5 as well.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, we'll wish you luck. We'll get out to a game and have a look. But folks, it's great hockey, as we always try to tell you. Try and get out and watch a game. You will not be disappointed. So we've had a week, Squid, to think about what happened a week ago Sunday. Final thoughts on the Olympic gold medal outcome.
Well, I wasn't happy with the outcome, but
yeah, of course.
But who in Canada was? I mean, it's and of course losing to the U.S. of all teams. I mean, like I said before it started, I said I really don't care who wins a gold medal as long as it's not the U.S. because we're going to hear for the next 3 years about being the 51st state because now we're the better hockey country and all that kind of stuff. So that's not good.
Well, and it's funny, you get of all the guys, he finally came through. He had his priest and Caddyshack moment. That's Connor Hellebuck. And of course, my buddy in Winnipeg, who can't stand him as a goalie and never can win a big game, said he was right back to normal a couple nights later, letting in soft goals, and they were going in from everywhere. So, hey, that's the way it goes, though, right? You get some nights it works and sometimes it doesn't. And kudos to him. He had his game at the right time in A1. But, yeah, we got to listen to all this. The one thing about it, I'll say, like at least the Los Angeles Dodgers, when they lost to the Blue Jays, they knew they stole it. And their celebration was good, but they respectful enough that we stole this one. We didn't deserve to win it. Whereas the U.S. guys, they should be sneaking out of there very quietly that you're lucky you got this, so you got a break. But anyway, and even their own announcers, I had to listen to the U.S. guys, which was nauseating in itself. Eddie Olczyk and oh God, they finally admitted about halfway through the third period that it was being dominated by Canada. It looks like the U.S. was just playing for overtime. And that was the only negative thing they said about the U.S. probably the whole week. So,
well, you got to figure in a game like that where Canada really did dominate them for the majority of the game, that once it got to overtime, then it was probably going to go in the other direction. It's just the way the game goes, right? Sometimes it's like you dominate for 60 minutes and then it goes to overtime and boom. You're done.
Well, Squid, I got a little surprise for you here today. I give you a little bit of heads up on this one now, but normally I have to make a comment as you're going to have to endure with me for a minute or two while I go through this. We try to keep all things hockey on this show, and politics have no business in sports whatsoever. However, after listening to what Wayne Gretzky has gone through the last year, and now topped off with this latest debacle with Team Canada, where he was apparently supposedly banned from the dressing room. And I have it on very good sources that he was. And this nonsense that, Elliot Friedman was chuckling, saying on Saturday night that Wayne said the guard didn't recognize him. So he said, you're not supposed to be here. So he left. Well, if you believe that story.
Who doesn't recognize Wayne Gretzky?
Well, come on. And if you believe that story that he wasn't banned, if anybody's looking for a real cheap Iranian golf package, I got one for you. You can head out Friday and have some great rounds of golf. So anyway, here we go. I mean, here's the thought. First off, with all the hanger-ons, of course, around that Canada dressing room, you don't think one person would have recognized him. And we know that it's all based on this Trump stuff. And you know what? So what? He knows the guy. look at the guys he's been associated. Wayne's never been a great judge of character with, Bruce McNall, Peter Palkington, Nelson Scalbania. I mean, okay, so but it doesn't find Wayne. We've all had people like that in our world that are gone to bad things. But again, it's all this stuff that Wayne went through, and all these idiots that are calling him up because he didn't wear a sweater for the Four Nations final game like the U.S. guy did. Well, the U.S. guy had to wear a sweater because nobody would have known who he was. And Wayne, again, I'm going to probably get some heat for this, but there's nothing dumber than I think than a 50, 60, 70-year-old man wearing a hockey sweater with a 20-year-old kid's name on the back. Okay, so let's be realistic about that. That looks dumb. And I know I love it, but again, I'm hypocritical because I love it in the dress. I love going to the rink and seeing that. But anyway, the whole thing about it is if anybody has any doubts about Wayne as a Canadian, go back to 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics. Canada got off to a very bad start, as everybody was aware. The nation was in an uproar, and Wayne went on national TV. He was the head of the operation, and he gave the most passionate and emotional speech to unify the country and unify that team to go win the gold medal. And that was the best speech said since 1972 when Phil Esposito after the loss in Vancouver in the Summit Series. So, the thing about it is, I want to now bring this next topic up, is Hockey Canada. What is it they exactly do? Now, we for all these years, everybody just thinks they're there and they're supposed to be doing things, but what is it they do? So I looked up and I've done some work on that. And Catherine Henderson, who's the head of Hockey Canada right now, making these decisions, she was the head of curling. And I want to read this one to you. The focus is leading the implementation of Hockey Canada Action Plan, which focuses on safety, inclusivity, and addressing misconduct in sport. Well, they did do that. They ruined 5 junior hockey players' careers. Okay, so that's a start. Yeah. The achievement: let the financial turnarounds implement pay equity initiatives in previous roles. That's what they've done. Well, what about development? Like the U.S. team, 25-man roster, 17 players on that 25-man roster played in the U.S. National Development Program. 19 played NCAA Division I hockey. Yeah, Canada had some guys that played at prep schools, but they're all in the U.S. So where is our programs? These kids are, now leaving Canada to go and play junior hockey in the U.S. as opposed to being developed here.
Well, a big reason for that is because at some levels of junior hockey, they have to pay like $10,000 a year to play. Well, how many families in Canada have that much money so their kid can play like tier 2 junior hockey? Not many.
No, and that's the whole thing. Why are we not developing? Like, isn't Hockey Canada's role to have hockey available for everybody to play? You and I are going to speak at schools about this. Inclusivity for everybody. And you don't have to necessarily play the game. You could be a referee, you could be a coach, a GM, you could get in the media. There's all kinds of things you can do to be involved in this game of hockey. And, but why not develop it? Let kids at least try. So my view is what should be happening is Hockey Canada should be encouraging kids to play, making it a safe environment to play, and developing them. That's first and foremost what all they should be doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how many times I've said it on our program, but the U.S. development program is a really good program. And my son went there, spent 2 years there, then got a full scholarship, went to university in the U.S. And I don't understand for the life of me why we don't have 2, 3, or 4 of those programs here in Canada. So 16 and 17-year-old kids can develop in those programs, and then if they want, they can go play junior, or they could go to university in the U.S., whatever they choose. So I just don't get it. Like, that's what we should be doing, and that will develop those 16, 17-year-old kids for them to go on and play either major junior hockey or U.S. colleges.
Exactly. And I mean, some of these kids are late developers. So maybe they weren't the biggest kid in the group when they were 8, 9, and 10, but all of a sudden at 14, they have a growth spurt and they're better. but we're never going to know this unless we
Yeah.
have programs to develop these kids. I do have to comment now. I told you I was going to get some heat. So the first email comes from somebody suggesting that these 70-year-old guys buy their grandkids lots of NHL and Hockey Canada memorabilia and junk. So be careful what you say. And it was kind of joking, but I'm not referring to the kids. We want the kids wearing all the jerseys and all the sweaters and sporting everybody, just the older guys. Although I do love seeing all the sweaters in the rink. So I'm kind of hypocritical on that note. But I was just trying to, my anger over this Gretzky stuff has just got me making those comments. But just on the final note for that, I will say that Wayne Gretzky has and still is been the greatest ambassador of hockey in the world, bar none. Nobody better. And he made hockey relevant in the U.S., and he continues to do so, along with being one of the greatest ambassadors for Canada as a nation, because hockey defines us as a nation, bar none. So, guys, you want to criticize him, go and read a little bit about the man and grow up. Now, the Leafs. I'm on a rant, Squid, because, things are not going good. I mean, it's what has happened to this hockey club?
I mean, they're having a lot of trouble getting out of their zone for starters and defending. Their defense is old as far as NHL goes, and they just don't have enough guys that can move the puck well and get it skate it out of the zone. Like you watch a guy like Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar, and those guys just go back, get the puck, and then they fly out of their zone, make a nice pass, and then they're into the other team's zone. We don't have a whole lot of guys that can do that on our back end.
No, I mean, and it's just, and of course, they're not getting elite goaltending. The forwards look like they're unengaged, and a lot of times coming back into their own. And it just looks like it's just an eclectic group out there, and I know they're trying, but it's just there's something wrong. And now we're in trade week, and I guess really the real issue is, do you trust Brad Treliving to handle the roster from here on in? I mean, this mess the team's been put in as a result of some of these trades and moves that have been made, and you never know if they're going to work out or not. So, I mean, that's not the total criticism, but the fact remains, the very few assets they have left, do you trust him to make the right moves if there is a move to be made this week? And I don't see what kind of move they can make except dump a couple players.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many moves that this team's going to make. Maybe they're free agents. They move them for draft capital, prospects, whatever the case might be. And then come summertime, you start rebuilding in some direction. That's my take on the whole thing, and I think that's probably what they should do. The UFAs, move them for draft capital, prospects, and then during the summer, that's when you really hone in and kind of do what you need to do to get a little younger and a little bit better.
Well, one of the things we always talk about this time of the year with the trade week or the trade day coming up this week, and we've talked about it every year at this point in time, how much do you think this weighs on players, especially, well, everybody, I mean, except the guys that are no trade moves? What do you think's going through their mind as the week go along? You could see it last night. It's almost like the players are trying not to make mistakes. And you don't want to be the guy that stands out and makes that mistake that costs the team a game, and maybe you're the guy that moved. I mean, I don't know whether that's the right type of thinking, but, at some point, it's got to go through guys' minds. And your thoughts. I mean, you went through it yourself.
Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, I don't think it should affect their game. I mean, when you're on the ice, it's one thing. When you're sitting at home and you're hearing things, rumors and whatnot, that's a little different. But when you're on the ice, you got a job to do. You're a professional. You got a job to do. You got to go out and do your job. And that was the only thing that I ever thought of when I was playing was, yeah, and when I was home, there's sometimes I didn't like things I was hearing, but once I get on the ice, that was gone. That was something you didn't even think about.
So, I mean, if you were to go walk in the room today and talk to the team as a whole, what would you say to them?
Well, exactly what I just said. Of course, when you're home, sitting on the couch or whatever, and you're hearing rumors, yeah, it's going to affect you a little bit. But once you get your skates on and your gear and you get on that ice, you got to forget about that. You got to put that out of your mind and just go out and say, I'm going to do whatever I can to win this game for this team.
And the other thing I think that you always try to point out is no matter the mess that this team is in right now, or appears to be in right now, anyway, I mean, they're out of the playoffs by 7 points. So I wouldn't call that real good. It's on the players. Like, they're the only ones that can fix this. End of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the coach can only do so much. He can only move the lines around a little bit and do what he can do to maybe try and get things going. But at the end of the day, and I've said this a million times on the show probably, is that it's up to the players. They got to go out and get the job done. And, whether it doesn't matter what the situation is, it's up to the players. Bottom line.
No, you're right. You're right. Listen, you're a National Hockey League player. You've been given a spot to play on this roster. Do your job and go out there and do something. Yeah. Maybe, the way this roster, I'm going to get back a little bit to the way this roster is constructed. I feel bad for Chief because Chief, I think, is a good coach. He looks very frustrated because, I mean, what can you do? But if you look at the way the team plays, the way he's trying to, like, his system is not the way the team plays. Like, he's a dump and chase, north and south guy. Yeah. This team still continues to want to play in the perimeter. So maybe, Rick, do you think maybe it's time to just let these guys go back to the old way and just see if something happens? I mean, it's not working the other way. Why not just open it up a little bit and see if maybe they can score their way out of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's an option, obviously, is just say, hey, just go out and play, do your job, and play the way you want to play and see if it works. And I mean, who knows? I mean, it's they're in a tough situation right now, and it's 7 points out of a playoff spot, several teams to crawl over. Their next 2 games are on the road in New Jersey and New York. And I mean, if they come home with 2 losses there, that's not going to be good, especially with the Rangers being in last place. So, I mean, what they said, I read it today, was that they have under a 4% chance of making the playoffs. So,
well, the funny part about it is, and I told the story before, as I'm sorry to repeat it, but I think it warrants this sort of situation here, is that when Mike Sullivan took over the Pittsburgh Penguins, they had lost, I think it was 10 in a row. They were out, they were barely hanging on to a playoff spot or just out of a playoff spot. And when he got Sidney Crosby to finally admit that he was his best player, his answer back then was, didn't play like it. And when Sid started asking what type of systems you're going to use, he goes, we're just going to keep it basic. If our best players outplay their best players and the rest of the guys fall in suit, how should we lose? Well, guess what? They won back-to-back cups. Like, he simplified the whole equation. Instead of complicating it, he simplified it, because at the end of the day, the game is still the same. Just get one more than the other guy and make sure your guy doesn't score. End of story.
Well, actually, you could even go back to Chiefs' situation in St. Louis when they were in last place in January and ended up winning the cup that year. So he's got some experience in being in that situation.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
But at the end of the day, he can only do so much at the end of the day, and it's up to the players to go out and get the job done.
So I have one other question for you, and I mean, this isn't the pick on Brad Treliving in the least, but it goes, but why was Easton Cowan not playing for the Marlies during the Olympic break?
Got me on that one. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know why he's not down there playing, because he's sitting in the stands.
Yeah.
I mean, full time. Let him play. Let him get his feet underneath him, and maybe next year he'll have come that much more that he'll be a better player. But I mean, they're sitting him out several games that he plays, and it's the same thing that Robertson went through last year, like, and this year as well. He sit out 2-3 games in a row, then he comes in, scores a goal, plays a good game, and then the next game he's out. And I don't understand it. It's baffling.
Yeah, it really is baffling. And, the team, it's funny that this team it's the resemblance is almost back to the 80s, which the year that you went through when there was things were being mismanaged. And we really just wake up every day and didn't know what was going to happen next. And even back to 2014, when this was just a really chaos, and they, went into the tank to get Austin Matthews, who, speaking of which, what did you didn't see it on Saturday night, but the reception on Saturday for him was kind of mixed when they announced the gold medal, and the look on his face he wasn't smiling too much if you looked at the videos. So I don't know if he really appreciated it too much. But again, as I said, I don't care. He played for the other team and beat our team. I'm not going to stand up and cheer for him that much. Just sit there quietly. But to boo him, I think that was uncalled for.
Yeah, I would think that was not necessary, that people would boo him. I mean, he's the captain of your team. He was the captain of the team that won the gold medal. Like you said, just if you're not going to cheer or boo, just sit there and be quiet. If you don't feel like doing anything. I mean, that's kind of what I'd probably be sitting there, just do nothing.
Well, the way this has all come down, Squid, I think the Leafs have to take a really good hard look at themselves. I'm talking about the management and Brad Treliving and his team. And you've said, when we've talked about the fact that the players are the ones that are going to bail them out of this, but that aside, management really has to be realistic and decide what this team is really capable of. Not stating the obvious, obviously, but if not completely convinced that they can compete, then try and just don't do anything. Just do what you have to do. And if worse comes to worse, maybe try and slip into that bottom 5 and retain your pick this year, and next year's is a top 10 pick. Maybe you have to do that too. Maybe it takes a year or two to dredge their way out of this, but I don't see another solution, because with no assets really at the Marley level, no draft picks to speak of for the next few years, they're not left with a lot of options.
No, they're not. And that's why I say, anybody who's a UFA that, could possibly be somebody that doesn't want to stay, if they don't get the contract they want, move those guys for draft capital, draft picks, prospects, and, maybe you end up with a first-round pick or a couple of second-round picks, whatever the case might be. At least you got something going into the summer, and you can kind of start to not rebuild, but retool, I guess would be a better way to put it.
No, you're right. And I mean, the hurdle there is with the salary cap going up, it's now widened the field for more players to be able to spend money on players. So that it's not going to get any easier, and the cap's going to continue to rise. And as that happens and teams are becoming more frugal, they're going to be able to pay, and they're going to be able to, as we're seeing now, they're retaining their star players. They're not being able to walk out their door, as we saw last year. So, except the Leafs when Marner walked.
Well, the crazy part is Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews are going to be free agents in 2 years at the same time, and the cap is going to be $110 million. What do you think they're gonna want? 20 million? And if the teams that they're with are not willing to pay them that kind of money, they may say, "Well, I'm going to go somewhere else."
Well, the other part too, you got to remember, is we've talked about this off the air, is they have the same agent. So what happens if they take a little? What happens if they've both made over $100 million each already? So money's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
What happens if they took a little bit less and went together somewhere?
Who knows? That's always a possibility, but I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, but you got to think this way in today's market, the way things are moving out. And by the way, the Leafs with their 30 wins have 2 more wins than Edmonton, and and Vegas, who's in first place in their division, the Leafs have 1 more win. Now they got less losses, but still, they're within. So I mean, is the league getting worse, or are we just too critical of the Leafs? Because if you look around, for as bad as they seem to be playing, they are only 7 points out of a playoff spot, but it seems insurmountable with 21 games left.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, not only that, you've got to climb over 3 or 4 teams to get there, and they're playing and they're winning, and that makes it that much more difficult.
Well, yeah, it does. But boy, oh boy, Squid, it's like anything in life. It takes forever to build and very little to take down, as we're witnessing this year. So regardless, they'll still have 21 games to play. You never say never. So today's quote, we just have to go with keep a stiff upper lip and move forward. And when you're ready, we got to throw this one at them. I'm sure the boys are watching.
Yeah, I'm always ready. You know that.
All right. Well, here we go. I got to find my quote here. So I want to make sure I read it properly. And here we go. Now, where am I here? You always pass failure on the way to success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Can't keep it any more simple than that.
No, that's pretty simple. And because they may not understand it if you made it real difficult to understand.
That's true too.
I think they're going to understand. I think they're going to all understand that one.
Well, because if they hear every player hears a ding, they may think it's their phone and jump through the roof, thinking they're out the door. So maybe we just better be careful with what signals we send these guys. So, well, anyway, boys and girls, that's all we have for today. So be sure to check out our Library Squid and the Ultimate Leaf Fan podcast on our YouTube channel, Squid and the Ultimate Leaf Fan. We have our fingers crossed the Leafs don't do any more damage to the roster. Maybe string a few wins together this week, starting tomorrow night in New Jersey, and don't do any more damage to the roster, as we said. So thanks for listening, everyone. Keep your chins up, and hopefully we have a good week, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.